11 obvious signs that there's an evil person next to you. Stoicism, wisdom for living. Have you ever encountered someone who just doesn't seem right? Someone whose presence makes you uneasy, as if they always have a hidden agenda or malicious intent? Well, in today's video on Stoic in Your Life, we're diving into the 11 obvious signs that there might be an evil person next to you. All of this is drawn from the timeless wisdom of Stoicism and how it applies to modern life. Before we begin, let's recall a profound quote from Seneca. "Associate yourself with people of good quality, for it is better to be alone than in bad company." This reminds us to be vigilant about the people we allow into our lives, as the company we keep can either elevate us or lead us down a destructive path. By recognizing these signs, you can protect your peace, your energy, and stay focused on what truly matters. 1. Disloyalty. We have all experienced betrayal at some point in our lives, whether it's a friend who turns their back on us, a colleague who sabotages our efforts, or a partner who is unfaithful. Disloyalty is especially painful because it erodes the foundation of trust and security that is vital to any relationship. Marcus Aurelius, a pillar of Stoicism, said, "Be true to yourself, and don't be diverted by anything." This wisdom highlights the importance of staying loyal to your principles and to those you hold dear, even when others fail to do the same. In modern life, disloyalty can come in subtle forms: a coworker spreading rumors to advance their career, or a friend who only reaches out when they need something. It's crucial to recognize this early, because a disloyal person can inflict emotional damage that disrupts the harmony of any group or relationship. Disloyalty doesn't just hurt the person betrayed, it can unravel the trust and morale of everyone involved. This is why identifying disloyalty is key, so that you can protect yourself and others from its destructive effects. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, emphasize that loyalty is not just a social nicety, but a virtue that underpins integrity. He said, "Above all, do no harm, neither with your words nor with your actions." This underscores that every action we take should be measured by how it reflects our loyalty to our principles and our respect for others. So, how do we deal with disloyalty when we encounter it? First, we must recognize that we cannot control the actions of others, only our reactions to them. If someone betrays us, it's a reflection of their character, not ours. This is an essential lesson from Stoicism. The actions of others are outside our control, but we can choose to respond with dignity and strength. In our modern world, we often feel the urge to retaliate or seek revenge when wronged. However, taking a step back and allowing time to cool our emotions is a wiser approach. As Seneca wisely observed, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." Before reacting impulsively, pause, reflect, and ensure that your response aligns with your values. By doing so, you remain in control of your emotions and act in a way that maintains your integrity. Furthermore, taking steps to protect yourself emotionally is crucial. This may mean distancing yourself from those who prove unworthy of your trust. In a workplace, for instance, this could involve limiting your interactions with a toxic colleague, or in personal relationships, it might mean ending a friendship that's built on disloyalty. It's essential to remember that protecting yourself is not an act of weakness, but of strength. You are ensuring that your energy and trust are placed in people who deserve them. At the heart of Stoicism is the idea that while we cannot control external events, we can always control our internal responses. Disloyalty, betrayal, and dishonesty will always exist in the world, but that doesn't mean we need to let these negative forces control us. When you encounter disloyalty, see it as an opportunity to reaffirm your commitment to living virtuously. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This timeless lesson applies just as much today as it did centuries ago. Whether you're dealing with a friend, colleague, or partner who has betrayed your trust, your focus should be on how you respond with wisdom and strength. In modern life, where social connections are more fragile and fleeting than ever before, understanding who is worthy of your trust is vital. It is easy to get caught up in feelings of anger or despair when someone breaks your trust, but holding on to these emotions will only weigh you down. By embracing Stoicism and the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, you can navigate betrayal with clarity. These ancient philosophers teach us to guard our hearts and minds from unnecessary emotional turmoil by recognizing that disloyalty is not a reflection of our worth, but rather of the character of the person who betrays us. They remind us to always strive to be the person others can trust, even when we are surrounded by dishonesty. Loyalty is a cornerstone of both personal integrity and healthy relationships. Recognizing disloyalty in those around you is critical, not only for your emotional well-being, but also for maintaining the balance of trust in your social circles. Disloyal people can damage the cohesion of teams, friendships, and families, so identifying this early allows you to protect yourself and others. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the key is to be unwavering in our loyalty to our values and to those who are deserving of it, regardless of how others behave. Keep this in mind as you move forward in life, cultivating relationships built on trust and integrity. You are the guardian of your character and your peace, and no act of betrayal should ever shake the foundation of your inner strength. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. When faced with disloyalty, choose to rise above it, holding steadfast to your principles and leading by example. 2. Lack of integrity. When someone lacks integrity, they do not follow a consistent moral code, and they are willing to betray their own principles whenever it suits them. This could range from small deceptions to major acts of betrayal. Have you ever encountered someone who says one thing and does another, or who shifts their values depending on the situation? These are the signs of a person without integrity. Lack of integrity is dangerous because it undermines trust. If someone is willing to betray their own beliefs, what's stopping them from betraying you when the opportunity arises? This creates a constant sense of insecurity and uncertainty in any relationship or group, and over time, it can erode the very foundation of trust that relationships rely on. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "Virtue is indivisible. Whoever possesses it entirely." This means that true virtue, true integrity, is something you either live by fully or not at all. A person who compromises their morality for convenience is not someone you can depend on. In life, maybe you've worked with someone who always promises to follow through but constantly fails to deliver when it matters. Or maybe there's a person in your social circle who changes their beliefs to fit in with whoever they're around, never standing firm in what they believe. This lack of integrity isn't just frustrating, it's a warning sign. A person without a moral compass is unpredictable and can cause damage when you least expect it. When it comes to trust, the Stoics teach us that we should guard it carefully. Marcus Aurelius, another towering figure in Stoicism, believed in the importance of living according to reason and virtue. He said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." His words challenge us to not only recognize integrity in others but to embody it ourselves. When we encounter those who lack integrity, we must remain steadfast in our own values. So, how do we deal with someone who lacks integrity? First, recognize the importance of consistency and honesty in your own life. Just as Marcus Aurelius urges us to be a good man, we must be the example of integrity in every situation. Your principles should not waver, even when faced with people who don't have a firm moral code. One story that captures this lesson comes from the corporate world. A CEO once discovered that a trusted executive had been cutting corners and making unethical decisions for personal gain. The CEO, rather than compromising for the sake of profit or ease, chose to remove the executive and rebuild trust within the company, even though it was a harder path. This is the kind of integrity that Stoicism promotes, choosing what is right over what is convenient. Secondly, set clear boundaries. When you're around someone who lacks integrity, it's essential to establish firm limits to protect yourself. You cannot control their actions, But you can control your response. Don't allow their lack of integrity to negatively impact you or your principles. If they break promises, lie, or manipulate, distance yourself where possible, and ensure that you stay true to your own moral standards. In the words of Epictetus, it's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. This Stoic wisdom applies perfectly here. You don't need to engage with or be influenced by those who lack integrity, but you must ensure that your own conduct remains virtuous and upright. Lack of integrity is more common than we might like to admit. In today's fast-paced world, where people often seek shortcuts to success, integrity can seem like a rare virtue. But this makes it even more valuable. If you stand firm in your principles, you set yourself apart from those who are willing to sacrifice their morals for convenience. You become someone that others can trust, someone who leads by example. When faced with someone who lacks integrity, remain committed to your own sense of right and wrong. Don't compromise. This isn't just about avoiding negative influences. It's about becoming the kind of person you would want to have in your own life. What truly matters is how you respond to people without integrity. You cannot control their choices, but you can control how you live your life. Do you choose convenience over honesty? Or do you hold yourself to a higher standard, one that reflects true virtue? The Stoics encourage us to live in alignment with our principles, even when the world around us does not. This reminds us that our inner values shape who we are. So when you encounter someone without integrity, let it be a reminder to stay loyal to your own. By holding fast to your values, you create a life of consistency, trust, and respect, qualities that are rare but deeply admired. The lesson here is clear. Be the example of integrity you want to see in the world, and surround yourself with those who share that same commitment to living virtuously. 3. Lack of self-control. Next, we've all encountered someone who cannot manage their impulses, whether it's explosive anger, insatiable greed, or other destructive behaviors. This lack of self-control can be incredibly harmful, not only to the individual but also to those around them. People who cannot rein in their emotions or desires create chaos and unpredictability, which often leads to conflict and emotional harm. The Stoics placed great emphasis on self-control and moderation as essential virtues for living a good life. Epictetus, one of the most revered Stoic philosophers, once said, "No one is free who is not master of themselves." This highlights the core Stoic belief that true freedom comes from mastering our impulses, emotions, and reactions, allowing us to live a life of virtue and inner peace. Why is it so important to recognize a lack of self-control in others? A person without self-control is unpredictable and dangerous, both emotionally and sometimes even physically. Their inability to manage their own behaviors can lead to constant tension, instability, and conflict in any environment they are part of, whether it's at work, in a family, or among friends. This unpredictability can create a toxic atmosphere where you are always on edge, wondering when the next outburst or destructive action will occur. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, reinforced the Stoic emphasis on maintaining harmony between words and actions. He said, "It is unacceptable for one's own actions and words not to align." In other words, we must strive for consistency in how we live our lives, ensuring that we remain in control of our emotions and reactions at all times. In modern life, this lesson is particularly relevant. We often encounter people who are driven by their impulses, whether it's anger, greed, or jealousy. Think of someone at work who lashes out at colleagues or a friend who constantly acts out of selfish desires, disregarding the feelings of others. These individuals, lacking self-discipline, can cause immense disruption, pulling you into unnecessary drama or even dragging you down emotionally. This is why it's crucial to set boundaries when dealing with such people. Establishing clear limits protects you from being sucked into their chaos and ensures that their impulsive behavior doesn't negatively affect your peace of mind. As Seneca wisely observed, anger, if not restrained, is often more harmful to us than the injury that provokes it. His words remind us that while we cannot control others' behaviors, We can control our own responses and maintain our composure in the face of their outbursts. How should you handle someone who lacks self-control? The first step is to recognize that their inability to manage their impulses is their problem, not yours. By understanding this, you can avoid getting entangled in their destructive behaviors. You must prioritize your own well-being by setting firm boundaries. Whether it's distancing yourself from someone who constantly stirs conflict or establishing emotional limits when engaging with them, protecting yourself is key. This doesn't mean you should be cold or indifferent. Instead, it's about ensuring that their lack of control doesn't damage your emotional stability. The Stoic way is to remain calm and composed even when faced with chaos. As Marcus Aurelius advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In other words, we should focus on managing our own thoughts and actions rather than trying to control or change others. Secondly, while maintaining your own composure, it's important to practice patience and compassion. Stoicism teaches us that all people are fighting battles we may not understand. Someone's lack of self-control may stem from deep-seated emotional issues, trauma, or a lack of proper guidance in life. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does remind us to approach them with empathy rather than judgment. Compassion doesn't mean tolerating their harmful actions. Rather, it's about recognizing their humanity while holding them accountable. You might find that some people with self-control issues are open to change if approached with patience and understanding. However, even if they are not, you can still choose to respond with dignity, protecting your peace while not being drawn into their emotional storms.
In many ways, dealing with people who lack self-control is a test of your own resilience and mastery of Stoic principles. Stoicism teaches that we cannot let others dictate how we feel or act. If someone's anger or impulsiveness stirs up negative emotions in you, then they hold power over you. But if you can remain steady, calm, and true to your own values, you've won the battle. This is why Seneca's quote is so important. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Instead of reacting impulsively to someone's lack of self-control, pause, take a step back, and choose your response wisely. This delay gives you the space to reflect and ensure that your actions align with your principles, just as Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of alignment between words and deeds. In today's fast-paced, stress-filled world, self-control is more important than ever. Many people act out of frustration, stress, or fear, creating environments of tension and anxiety. But if you embody Stoic virtues, if you maintain your own sense of calm and discipline, you can rise above these challenges. You cannot control the impulsive actions of others, but you can control how you respond. And by setting boundaries, practicing patience, and refusing to let others' behavior dictate your emotions, you not only protect yourself, but also become a model of virtue for those around you. The lesson here is clear. Self-control is the foundation of a virtuous and peaceful life. Whether you're dealing with someone who lacks it or striving to master it yourself, the key is to remain steady, disciplined, and focused on what you can control, your own actions and thoughts.
4. Constant destructive criticism. The fourth sign that you may have an evil person next to you is constant destructive criticism. We've all encountered someone who seems to always find fault in what we do, someone who never offers a kind word or constructive feedback, but instead tears us down at every opportunity. This type of person doesn't criticize with the intent of helping you improve. They criticize to undermine you, to make you doubt yourself and feel inferior. In life, there's a big difference between feedback that helps you grow and criticism that is meant to destroy. The Stoics teach us to handle criticism with grace and not let negative opinions disturb our inner peace. As Epictetus wisely said, if someone speaks badly of you, don't react with anger. Instead, consider whether there is truth in what they say, and if so, correct yourself. If it's untrue, simply laugh it off. This quote reminds us that not all criticism should affect us, and we must reflect calmly, accepting what is useful and discarding what is meant only to harm. Why is it so important to recognize destructive criticism? Because a person who constantly tears you down can erode your self-esteem and confidence over time. If you allow yourself to absorb their negative words, you may begin to doubt your abilities and second-guess yourself, which can have long-lasting effects on your emotional and mental well-being. Destructive criticism is like poison. It seeps into your mind, slowly weakening your belief in yourself if you don't actively counter it. From a Stoic perspective, it is crucial to differentiate between constructive criticism, which helps us grow, and destructive criticism, which only seeks to harm. Marcus Aurelius, a master of Stoicism, advised, "Receive criticism, but ensure that it does not wound you." In other words, we must be open to feedback that helps us improve, but we must also protect ourselves from criticism that is purely intended to break us down. In today's world, destructive criticism can come from various sources: at work, at home, or even on social media, where negative comments are often thrown around carelessly. Think of a boss who always criticizes your work without offering suggestions for improvement, or a so-called friend who constantly puts you down under the guise of honesty. These people aren't looking out for your best interests, they're simply trying to diminish you. This is why it's vital to assess the intent behind the criticism you receive. If the feedback is meant to help, embrace it. If it's meant to hurt, let it go. So, how do we deal with someone who constantly offers destructive criticism? The first step is to evaluate the criticism objectively. Is there any truth to what they are saying? If there is, use it as an opportunity to grow. But if you find that their words are baseless and meant only to bring you down, dismiss them entirely. Don't allow someone's negativity to take root in your mind. It's important to maintain a strong sense of self-worth in these situations, and this comes from knowing your own value and being confident in your abilities. Surrounding yourself with supportive people who uplift and encourage you is crucial for maintaining your emotional balance. This is why it's so important to cultivate relationships that are built on mutual respect and trust. A good example might be a colleague who always criticizes your work without offering solutions, versus a mentor who challenges you to improve but does so with constructive feedback. Learn to distinguish between these types of interactions and focus your energy on those who want to see you grow. As you encounter destructive criticism, remember the Stoic principle of serenity in the face of adversity. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, once said, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." Don't waste your energy suffering over the words of those who only wish to harm you. When you hear destructive criticism, don't internalize it. Instead, stay calm, reflect on its validity, and then move forward with confidence. The words of others don't define you. Your actions and the way you live your life do. This is a powerful reminder from Stoicism that we must not let the negativity of others pull us away from our goals or shake our belief in ourselves. Don't let destructive criticism get under your skin. Recognize it for what it is, a tool that some people use to feel powerful by making others feel small. Stand firm in your principles and stay true to your path. Marcus Aurelius's Stoicism teaches us that the opinions of others are not within our control, but how we respond to them is. And when we choose to respond with calmness and self-assurance, we retain our power, remaining unaffected by the malicious intent of others. By mastering this approach, you protect your peace, preserve your confidence, and continue to live a life aligned with your values, no matter who tries to bring you down. If you're still with me, you're on the path to mastering your own life. Leave a comment saying, "I choose virtue," to show that you're ready to let Stoicism guide you through life's challenges. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into living wisely and overcoming obstacles. 5. Selfishness. Selfishness is a clear signal that a person isn't interested in the well-being of those around them and is only acting for their own gain. Such people can drain your emotional and physical resources because they're always seeking what they can take, without giving anything in return. The Stoics, however, placed immense value on community and the interconnectedness of people. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." This quote highlights the importance of considering the greater good and not just focusing on oneself. When we live only for our own desires, we isolate ourselves from the collective harmony that we are all a part of. Why is it so important to recognize selfishness? Because a selfish person will not hesitate to exploit others for their own benefit, leaving you feeling drained and depleted. They can create unbalanced relationships where you're constantly giving but never receiving, leading to frustration, resentment, and eventually, emotional burnout. In modern life, this could look like a coworker who always takes credit for group efforts, a friend who only reaches out when they need something, or even a family member who expects your time and attention without reciprocating. Identifying this behavior early is crucial for maintaining your own well-being. From the Stoic perspective, real satisfaction and inner peace come from contributing to the welfare of others, not hoarding everything for oneself. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, said, "No man is more happy than he who is completely convinced that he is doing good." This powerful message reminds us that true happiness doesn't come from selfish actions, but from generosity, from serving others, and from the fulfillment that comes when we uplift those around us. When dealing with selfish individuals, how can we protect ourselves without compromising our values? First, it's important to recognize their behavior patterns. If someone continually puts their own needs first, rarely or never considering yours, this is a clear sign of selfishness. Once you're aware of this, you can better manage your expectations of that person and avoid feeling disappointed when they fail to reciprocate. But awareness alone isn't enough. You also need to set clear boundaries. You must take care of your own needs and not allow a selfish person to drain your energy. This doesn't mean you should abandon empathy, but you do need to ensure that your kindness and generosity aren't being exploited. Boundaries are vital for preserving your emotional health, and they allow you to maintain relationships without being constantly depleted. A modern-day example might be a business relationship where one partner consistently takes advantage of the other's generosity or hard work, never contributing equally to the partnership. At first, you might brush it off, thinking it's temporary, but over time it becomes clear that they're always prioritizing themselves at your expense. The longer you allow this imbalance, the more it takes from you, emotionally, financially, or even in terms of your time. If you're not careful, selfish people can take advantage of your generosity until there's nothing left to give. That's why setting limits early is essential. As Epictetus taught, remember, you must behave in life as at a banquet. In other words, take only what you need and leave the rest for others, ensuring that you're contributing to the greater good rather than hoarding everything for yourself. It's equally important to remember that, even in the face of selfishness, we should practice generosity and empathy in our own lives. Stoicism teaches us that we are not defined by the actions of others, but by how we choose to respond. When we encounter selfishness, we shouldn't respond in kind by becoming selfish ourselves. Instead, we must continue to embody the virtues of kindness and generosity, while also protecting ourselves from being taken advantage of. By practicing these virtues, we reinforce our own values and remain true to the principles that guide a life of integrity and peace. In the end, selfishness only leads to isolation, while generosity fosters connection and community. So how do we balance this? We maintain our generosity but temper it with wisdom. It's essential to offer help and support where it is needed, but not to the point where we are sacrificing our own well-being. This is where Stoic wisdom comes into play. Help others, but not at the expense of your own health or happiness. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If we let ourselves be consumed by selfish people, our thoughts and emotions will suffer. But if we approach relationships with clear boundaries and maintain our commitment to the collective good, we preserve our peace while contributing meaningfully to the world around us. Selfish people are out for themselves, but you don't have to fall into their trap. By recognizing their patterns, setting boundaries, and continuing to live generously within reason, you can protect your own well-being while still making a positive impact. The key is balance, knowing when to give and when to withhold, and ensuring that your relationships are built on mutual respect and consideration. Selfishness might seem like a minor flaw, but left unchecked, it can poison relationships and drain your energy. Stay vigilant, maintain your integrity, and always remember that true happiness and peace come not from taking, but from giving in a way that uplifts both yourself and others. 6. Arrogance. Arrogance is a trait that Stoics deeply despised because it stands in direct opposition to humility and wisdom. Epictetus, one of the most respected Stoic philosophers, wisely said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." This quote captures the essence of humility, acknowledging that there is always more to learn. An arrogant person, on the other hand, believes they already know everything and are closed off to new ideas or different perspectives. This makes them not only difficult to work with but also stunts their own growth, as they are unwilling to evolve or improve. Why is it crucial to recognize arrogance? Because an arrogant person can poison the atmosphere of any group, whether it's in a workplace, family, or social circle. Their attitude often discourages others, creates unnecessary conflict, and hinders both personal and collective progress. Arrogance isn't just an inflated sense of self. It's often accompanied by a lack of empathy, a readiness to belittle others, and a need to dominate every situation. Such people are typically more concerned with asserting their superiority than with contributing to the well-being of the group. In modern life, you may encounter this type of arrogance in a colleague who refuses to listen to others' suggestions, or in a friend who constantly tries to one-up everyone in conversation, turning every interaction into a competition. The Stoics teach that humility is essential for personal growth. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, offered a sobering reminder of our mortality when he said, "Do not act as if you were going to live for 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." This quote speaks to the importance of keeping our egos in check and remembering our limitations as humans. Arrogance distracts us from what truly matters, living with virtue and contributing positively to the lives of others. When we acknowledge our mortality, we're reminded that arrogance is a waste of time. Life is too short to spend it puffed up with pride. Instead, we should focus on being the best versions of ourselves, constantly learning and growing. How do we deal with an arrogant person? First, you must not let their behavior affect your own sense of self-worth. It's easy to feel belittled or frustrated when someone constantly tries to assert their superiority, but remember that their arrogance is more a reflection of their insecurity than your inadequacy. Stay grounded in your own humility. Don't get drawn into their need for validation or superiority. This doesn't mean you allow yourself to be mistreated, but it does mean you maintain your dignity by not engaging in the same egotistical games. When you remain calm and humble in the face of arrogance, you show strength, and that kind of quiet confidence is far more powerful than any display of arrogance. Secondly, when necessary, confront arrogance with calmness and firmness. You don't need to engage in pointless arguments or try to prove yourself to someone who refuses to listen, but you also shouldn't allow yourself to be trampled by their ego. Sometimes, simply standing your ground and not allowing their arrogance to dictate the conversation can be enough. Stoicism teaches us to approach such situations with serenity. As Seneca said, "The wise man seeks not the applause of men but his own approbation." This means that we should focus on living according to our principles rather than worrying about the opinions of others, especially those who are arrogant and self-serving. In our fast-paced world, where people are often quick to show off their achievements or assert dominance, arrogance can be particularly prevalent. Social media, for example, can amplify this behavior, with some individuals constantly broadcasting their successes while belittling others in subtle or obvious ways. But just as in ancient times, the Stoic approach remains the same. Stay humble, stay grounded, and don't let the arrogance of others shake your foundation. In fact, modern life offers countless opportunities to practice humility. For instance, in your career, no matter how successful you become, there is always more to learn. A truly wise person knows that learning is a lifelong journey, and being open to new ideas, regardless of where they come from, keeps you growing. Arrogant people miss this opportunity because they are trapped in the belief that they already know everything. At the end of the day, the lesson here is clear. Arrogance is not a sign of strength or intelligence. It's often a mask for insecurity and a barrier to growth. When you encounter it, don't let it affect your own journey. Stay committed to humility, which, according to Stoicism, is not about thinking less of yourself, but about recognizing your place in the grander scheme of things. Life is short, and arrogance wastes precious time. Instead, live with the understanding that there is always more to learn, always more ways to grow, and that true wisdom lies in humility. Marcus Aurelius's Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control: our actions, our thoughts, and our attitudes. By practicing humility and resisting the temptation to engage in arrogance, we not only protect our peace, but also contribute to a world that values wisdom over ego, collaboration over competition, and genuine growth over superficial displays of superiority. 7. Cruelty. Now let's talk about the seventh sign that there may be an evil person next to you: cruelty. Cruelty can take many forms, from hurtful words and malicious actions to the unsettling enjoyment of seeing others suffer. A cruel person not only lacks empathy, but often derives pleasure from inflicting pain on others, which makes them particularly harmful. In life, you may have encountered someone who seemed to go out of their way to belittle others, criticize harshly, or even revel in causing distress. The Stoics taught that compassion and humanity are central to living a virtuous life. Seneca once said, "The most noble part of our being is the ability to feel compassion." This reminds us that compassion is one of the highest qualities we can cultivate, and it stands in stark contrast to cruelty. Why is it so important to recognize cruelty? Because a cruel person can cause deep, lasting harm, not just in the moment, but in ways that impact a person's emotional and psychological well-being for years to come. Cruelty leaves scars that are often invisible but deeply felt. Additionally, being around cruelty for extended periods can desensitize you, gradually eroding your own sense of compassion and kindness. You might even start to normalize harmful behaviors, which is why it's critical to identify cruelty early on and distance yourself from it before it takes a toll on your own moral compass. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoics, teaches us an invaluable lesson here. The best revenge is to be unlike those who did the harm. This Stoic wisdom encourages us not to allow cruelty to make us cruel in return. Instead, we must rise above it, staying true to our values of kindness and integrity, even when faced with malice. In today's world, we can see examples of cruelty not only in personal relationships but also in public and professional spaces. Consider a workplace where a boss consistently belittles their employees, or a situation where someone uses their power to humiliate others just to assert dominance. These are not just isolated moments of negativity. They are signs of a deeply rooted cruelty that, if unchecked, can destroy the morale of everyone involved. It is essential to recognize these traits early, whether they appear in a colleague, a family member, or even a friend. Protecting yourself from cruelty doesn't mean becoming indifferent, but it does mean setting boundaries. The first step in dealing with a cruel person is ensuring that you don't allow their behavior to harm your mental or emotional health. Boundaries are crucial here. You cannot control how others act, but you can control how much access they have to your inner world. At the same time, how we respond to cruelty is a test of our character. Stoicism teaches that we must face cruelty with both compassion and strength. While it's easy to be dragged into a cycle of revenge or resentment, Doing so only lowers us to the same level as those who seek to harm. Instead, respond to cruelty with dignity, showing that kindness is a much more powerful force. This doesn't mean tolerating bad behavior. It means refusing to let cruelty transform you into someone bitter or vengeful. In fact, responding with kindness and maintaining your integrity in the face of cruelty is one of the strongest forms of resilience. As Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, noted, "No one is free who is not master of himself." In this context, mastering oneself means not allowing another person's cruelty to dictate your actions or emotions. You maintain control over your responses, choosing compassion over retaliation. How do we handle a cruel person in our lives? First, recognize the behavior for what it is, and protect yourself and those around you by setting firm limits. If someone consistently shows cruelty, it may be necessary to distance yourself from them. Don't allow their actions to negatively impact your own mental or emotional state. This could mean cutting ties with a toxic colleague, limiting interactions with a hurtful family member, or confronting someone when their cruelty becomes too much to bear. However, the goal is not to meet cruelty with cruelty. Instead, respond with the strength that comes from knowing you are in control of your own reactions. Second, lead by example with compassion and resilience. Just because someone is cruel does not mean you have to lower yourself to their level. Show them that kindness and integrity are far more powerful than any form of malice. This doesn't mean you have to tolerate abuse. It means you don't let their cruelty corrupt your spirit. In fact, responding to cruelty with grace not only protects your peace, but may also challenge the cruel person's worldview. By maintaining your own dignity, you demonstrate that cruelty is a sign of weakness, not strength, and that true power lies in kindness. This might not change the person immediately, but it sets an example of what a virtuous life looks like. In a world where cruelty can sometimes seem pervasive, whether in our personal lives or in broader societal contexts, Stoicism provides a valuable framework for dealing with it. We are reminded that, as Marcus Aurelius taught, we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we choose to respond. And the best response is always one that aligns with our highest virtues: compassion, strength, and resilience. Cruelty doesn't have to define us or our environment. By living according to Stoic principles, we can ensure that kindness and empathy remain at the forefront of our actions, no matter how others behave. This is how we stay true to ourselves and create a life of peace and virtue amidst the cruelty of the world. 8. Envy. The eighth sign that you may have an evil person beside you is envy. Envy is a dangerous and insidious emotion that creeps into relationships and poisons them from within. When someone desires what you have and resents your success or happiness, they might try to undermine you, speak ill of you behind your back, or even sabotage your efforts to make themselves feel better. This kind of behavior often comes from deep-rooted insecurity and dissatisfaction with their own lives. It can manifest in subtle ways, like a friend constantly downplaying your achievements, or in more obvious actions that seek to diminish your accomplishments. But envy is more than just a negative feeling. It can lead to toxic behavior that hurts not only the person who harbors it, but also those around them. The Stoics teach us the importance of focusing on our own path without comparing ourselves to others. Epictetus wisely said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly." This quote encourages us to embrace our own journey, appreciate what we have, and avoid the destructive emotions that come with comparison. When we focus on our own progress and accept life as it unfolds, we are much less likely to feel envious of others' success, and likewise, we become immune to the effects of envy directed at us. Instead of becoming bogged down by jealousy, we can rise above it by maintaining a sense of inner peace. Why is it so important to identify envy in those around us? Because envy, when left unchecked, can be deeply destructive. A person consumed by envy lives in a constant state of dissatisfaction and resentment, which not only makes them miserable, but can also lead them to act in harmful ways. They may gossip, spread lies, or create unnecessary conflicts in an attempt to bring others down to their level. For the person being envied, this experience can be exhausting and stressful, as it often leads to feelings of unease or the sense that you need to constantly defend yourself. If you've ever felt that someone close to you was quietly undermining your successes or subtly criticizing your happiness, it's likely that envy was at the root of their behavior. From the Stoic perspective, envy is a sign of weakness and lack of wisdom. It distracts us from virtue and pulls us away from the tranquility that Stoicism emphasizes. Seneca captured this idea perfectly when he said, "Envy is a waste of time. It serves no productive purpose and only distances us from a peaceful and virtuous life. When we allow envy into our hearts, we focus too much on what others have, and in doing so, we lose sight of what we already possess. Rather than fostering contentment, envy creates a cycle of dissatisfaction that erodes our sense of fulfillment. So, how should we handle the envy of others? First, by understanding that someone else's envy is not a reflection of us, but rather a reflection of their own insecurities and unfulfilled desires. We must not take their envy personally or let it affect how we view ourselves. It's essential to remember that their resentment comes from a place of weakness, not because of anything we've done wrong. This knowledge can help us maintain a sense of calm and perspective when dealing with envious individuals. Second, we must protect our own peace by not allowing others' envy to make us feel less or undermine our confidence. When faced with envy, it's easy to doubt ourselves or feel guilty for our achievements. But we must stand firm in our accomplishments and refuse to let others' negativity pull us down. If you find that you are the target of someone's envy, the best course of action is to act with compassion and understanding, but also with firm boundaries. You don't need to engage in confrontations or prove yourself to them. Doing so only fuels the conflict. Instead, recognize their behavior for what it is and continue to walk your own path with integrity. Envy is prevalent in today's world, especially in an era where people often compare themselves to others through social media, where everyone's successes are constantly on display. Whether it's professional achievements, financial status, or personal happiness, it's easy to fall into the trap of measuring your life against the highlight reels of others. And, just as easily, others may look at your life and feel envious of what they perceive as your good fortune. But as the Stoics remind us, this comparison is futile. True contentment comes from focusing on our own growth and accepting life as it is, not as we wish it would be for ourselves or others. Don't let envy, either your own or someone else's, derail your journey. When you encounter envy in others, remember that it speaks more about their struggles than yours. Respond with grace and continue living according to your values without letting their negativity alter your path. And when you feel envy creeping into your own thoughts, reflect on the Stoic teachings, appreciate what you have, focus on your own growth, and remember that envy only leads to unnecessary suffering. In a world that constantly tempts us to compare, the greatest wisdom lies in staying grounded in your own life, free from the distractions of what others may have. Stay true to your journey, and let virtue be your guide. 9. Hypocrisy. Now let's come to hypocrisy as particularly harmful because it erodes trust and undermines the integrity of relationships and communities. When someone's words don't align with their actions, it creates confusion and a sense of betrayal, which can destabilize even the strongest of connections. The Stoics valued consistency between words and deeds, emphasizing that one's actions should always reflect their values. Marcus Aurelius, a revered Stoic philosopher and emperor, once said, "A man must stand upright, not be kept upright by others." This quote stresses the importance of personal responsibility and living according to one's principles, not relying on external forces to maintain integrity. Why is it crucial to recognize hypocrisy in those around us? Because a hypocritical person is fundamentally unreliable. If someone speaks about honesty but engages in deceit, or preaches the value of compassion while treating others cruelly, they reveal a lack of moral grounding. This inconsistency is dangerous as it breeds an atmosphere of distrust and confusion. Imagine working alongside someone who demands transparency, but consistently hides their own mistakes, or a friend who lectures about loyalty while betraying others behind their backs. Their hypocrisy creates a toxic environment where it becomes hard to discern what's true and who to trust. The Stoic philosopher Seneca reminds us that true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. This quote speaks to the peace of mind that comes with authenticity. Living honestly, without pretending to be something we're not, allows us to enjoy the present fully, free from the weight of deception. In modern life, hypocrisy can take many forms. You might encounter a coworker who insists on teamwork, but secretly undermines others for personal gain. Or perhaps it's a leader who promotes ethical behavior in public, but cuts corners in private dealings. These contradictions create environments where people are unsure of each other's true intentions, leading to mistrust and fractured relationships. Hypocrisy isn't just an individual flaw, it spreads like a virus, weakening the bonds of trust and cooperation in any setting. That's why recognizing and addressing hypocrisy early is essential. A person who cannot align their words with their actions is likely to create turmoil, whether in a personal relationship, a workplace, or a broader community. From a Stoic perspective, authenticity and consistency are key elements of living a virtuous life. It's not enough to talk about virtues like honesty, compassion, or integrity. We must embody them in our actions. Hypocrisy is, at its core, a failure to live in alignment with one's values, and this failure disrupts not only the hypocrite's life, but also the lives of those around them. The Stoics teach that to achieve inner peace and fulfillment, we must avoid the trap of saying one thing while doing another. Seneca's words guide us here. Living authentically allows us to enjoy the present, untethered by the anxiety that comes from living a double life. The clarity that comes from integrity is invaluable. Apply this Stoic wisdom in our daily lives. First, by being mindful of our own consistency, we must ensure that our actions reflect our values and principles. It's easy to preach kindness, but are we truly practicing it in our interactions with others? Do we promote honesty but cut corners when it's convenient? Self-reflection is crucial here. We must be willing to examine our own behavior and hold ourselves accountable when we fall short of our ideals. This doesn't mean we should strive for perfection, but rather that we must commit to aligning our actions with our values as closely as possible. Second, we must remain observant of others' behavior. If you notice that someone is consistently hypocritical, be cautious in your interactions with them. This doesn't mean you have to cut them off completely, but it does mean recognizing that they may not be someone you can trust fully. Hypocrites often reveal their true nature over time, and it's important to pay attention to these patterns so that you don't get caught in their web of inconsistency and deception. The Stoic principle of mindfulness applies here. By remaining aware of both our own actions and the behavior of others, we can navigate life's challenges with wisdom and integrity. When dealing with hypocritical individuals, it's crucial to maintain your own integrity. Don't let their double standards influence your behavior or cause you to lower your own moral standards. It's easy to feel frustrated or even tempted to respond in kind when faced with hypocrisy. But as Marcus Aurelius wisely advised, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. This means that the best way to handle hypocrisy is not by engaging in it yourself, but by remaining true to your values, regardless of how others behave. When you stay consistent, you demonstrate strength of character, which not only shields you from being pulled into their negativity, but also sets an example for others around you. In today's world, where so many are quick to preach but slow to practice, hypocrisy can seem rampant. Whether in politics, business, or personal relationships, we are often faced with people who fail to live up to the ideals they promote. But rather than becoming cynical or losing faith in others, Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our own behavior. By living with authenticity and holding ourselves accountable, we not only protect ourselves from the corrosive effects of hypocrisy, but also contribute to creating environments built on trust and integrity. At the end of the day, the key lesson here is to be mindful of hypocrisy in both ourselves and others. Recognizing it allows us to protect our peace and maintain healthy, honest relationships. More importantly, by striving to live without hypocrisy, we align ourselves with Stoic principles, which lead to a life of inner peace, virtue, and true happiness. As you go through life, remember, it's not enough to say what is right. We must live it every day. And by doing so, we not only avoid the pitfalls of hypocrisy, but also inspire those around us to live with the same integrity and consistency. Congratulations for making it through to the end. If you're ready to apply these Stoic lessons and identify the toxic influences in your life, comment, "I stand strong," below. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so we can continue this journey towards a life of clarity and purpose together. 10. The need to control. We've all encountered someone who constantly wants to have the final word, make all the decisions, and manage every situation according to their preferences. These individuals often display authoritarian and dominant tendencies, and their overwhelming need for control can suffocate the people around them. Whether it's in personal relationships or in professional settings, dealing with someone like this can be exhausting and limiting. Stoicism, however, emphasizes the importance of personal freedom and self-determination. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, stated, "Freedom is the only worthy goal of the rational mind." This reminds us that we must be free in our thoughts and actions, and we should not allow others to control or dominate us. Why is the need for control a sign of malice? Because when someone seeks to control others, they demonstrate a fundamental lack of respect for the autonomy and dignity of those around them. A person who craves control views others not as individuals with their own rights, desires, and dreams, but as tools or means to achieve their own ends. This behavior is often manipulative and coercive, leading to toxic dynamics where the controller manipulates situations to ensure everything unfolds according to their wishes. Such people disregard the feelings and boundaries of others, creating environments where fear and subservience replace trust and mutual respect. In everyday life, you might see this in a partner who makes all decisions without considering your input, or in a boss who micromanages every detail of your work, never trusting you to act independently. For the Stoics, true strength does not lie in controlling others, but in mastering oneself. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wisely said, "The soul becomes stronger when it resists temptations and stands firm in its principles." This powerful teaching underscores the importance of self-discipline and internal fortitude. A person who seeks to control others reveals their own weakness. They are unable to control their own fears and desires, and thus try to impose their will on the people around them. Stoicism teaches us that genuine power comes from within, from controlling our own reactions, emotions, and behaviors, not from trying to control others. Now apply these Stoic lessons in our daily lives. The first step is recognizing when someone is attempting to control you. This can manifest in various ways, from direct commands and emotional manipulation to more subtle forms of coercion. It might be a friend who constantly guilts you into doing things their way, or a family member who uses emotional blackmail to get what they want. Once you recognize these behaviors, it's essential to set clear boundaries. Do not allow others to make decisions for you or force you into actions that you do not want to take. Maintaining your autonomy is crucial, and it's important to remember that your well-being and freedom must always come first. Boundaries are not only a way of protecting yourself, but also a way of teaching others that they cannot control or manipulate you. In situations where confronting a controlling person becomes necessary, do so with calmness and firmness. Remember that aggression or anger only fuels the conflict, but standing your ground with quiet confidence disarms the manipulator's power. The Stoics teach us to remain composed in the face of adversity, focusing on what we can control, our own thoughts and actions. As Seneca wisely said, "He who is brave is free." This means that courage is essential to maintain your freedom. You must be brave enough to assert your boundaries, and resist the pressure from those who seek to control you. By doing so, you not only protect your autonomy, but also strengthen your own inner resolve. In modern life, the need for control can show up in various forms. You might encounter it in relationships where one partner tries to dictate every aspect of the other's life, or in workplaces where a manager uses their position to dominate and micromanage their team. In both cases, it's vital to maintain your sense of self and not allow the controlling person to undermine your confidence or peace of mind. The key is to hold fast to your own values and principles, even when others try to sway you. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the greatest victory is not over others, but over ourselves. True strength lies in resisting external pressures and staying true to our inner compass. In situations where you feel overwhelmed by someone's controlling behavior, it's helpful to take a step back and assess the situation from a Stoic perspective. This mindset allows you to approach the situation with clarity and purpose, rather than being swept up in the chaos of someone else's need for control. By staying grounded and focused on what you can control, your own thoughts, actions, and responses, you reclaim your power and free yourself from the influence of those who seek to dominate. True freedom comes from within, and no one can take that away from you unless you allow them to. When faced with a controlling person, maintain your autonomy, set firm boundaries, and remember that the only person you truly need to master is yourself. As the Stoics teach, the path to inner peace and freedom is not found in controlling others, but in controlling our own minds and actions. By living according to your own principles, you can rise above the need for control that others may try to impose on you, and live a life of virtue, integrity, and true freedom. 11. Lack of empathy. The 11th and final sign that you may be dealing with an evil person is lack of empathy. We've all encountered someone who seems utterly indifferent to the feelings or needs of others. This kind of person may come across as cold, detached, or even cruel in their interactions, showing no concern for how their words or actions affect those around them. A lack of empathy is particularly dangerous, not just because it creates emotional distance, but because it disconnects a person from the shared humanity that binds us all. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor and philosopher, once said, "The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane." This powerful statement reminds us that even when others around us lack integrity, compassion, or empathy, we must not allow ourselves to follow the same path. Instead, we must remain true to our values, maintaining our sense of integrity and compassion no matter the circumstances. A person without empathy is entirely self-centered, unable or unwilling to see beyond their own interests and desires. This absence of concern for others makes it impossible for them to form genuine connections. But why is it so important to recognize this trait? Because empathy is the foundation of healthy relationships, whether personal or professional. It allows us to understand others' perspectives, to act with kindness, and to create an environment of trust and respect. When someone lacks empathy, they are often blind to the impact of their actions on others, which can lead to significant emotional harm. Their behavior can create a toxic atmosphere, filled with distrust and hostility, which erodes the quality of relationships and creates emotional distance. Have you ever worked with someone who never seemed to consider how their decisions affected the team, or known someone who dismissed the feelings of others as unimportant? These are clear signs of a lack of empathy, and if left unchecked, this attitude can cause long-term damage to those around them. From the Stoic perspective, empathy and compassion are not just virtues. They are essential components of living a meaningful and fulfilling life. Epictetus, another renowned Stoic philosopher, taught that we should see ourselves in others and treat them with the dignity and respect that we wish for ourselves. This idea speaks to the heart of Stoic wisdom, the recognition that we are all interconnected, that our actions have ripple effects, and that to live virtuously we must treat others with kindness. A person who lacks empathy ignores this basic truth, behaving as though the world revolves solely around them, indifferent to the emotional or moral consequences of their actions. When dealing with someone who cannot or will not consider your feelings, maintaining a healthy distance is often necessary. You can't change someone else's lack of empathy, but you can set boundaries to ensure that their indifference doesn't hurt you. In many cases, it's best to avoid getting too entangled with people who repeatedly show they don't care about others' feelings. But what if avoiding them isn't an option, like in a workplace setting or with a family member? In these situations, recognizing their behavior for what it is can help you manage your expectations and avoid emotional harm. By understanding that their actions stem from their own limitations rather than anything you've done, you can approach them with compassion, but also with firmness, ensuring that you don't allow their insensitivity to negatively impact your life. Moreover, it's essential to remember that, as a Stoic, your goal is to live in accordance with virtue and reason. As Seneca, another prominent Stoic, wisely noted, "The greatest power is self-mastery." This means that no matter how others behave, we must focus on controlling our own reactions. If someone around you lacks empathy, respond not with anger or frustration, but with understanding and resolve. Just because they are indifferent to the feelings of others does not mean you have to be. Your strength lies in your ability to remain composed and empathetic, even when others fail to show the same consideration. In modern life, we often encounter people who seem to lack empathy, whether it's in the workplace, within social circles, or even within families. For example, think of a manager who only cares about hitting targets without considering the well-being of their employees, or a friend who never listens when you need support, but expects you to be there for them. These individuals can drain your emotional energy if you're not careful. But by applying Stoic wisdom, you can keep their behavior from affecting you. Marcus Aurelius teaches us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. Instead of being pulled into the negative energy of a person who lacks empathy, focus on maintaining your inner peace and acting with integrity. Dealing with people who lack empathy is a challenge, but it doesn't have to derail your pursuit of virtue. While it's important to protect yourself from the emotional harm that such individuals can cause, it's equally important not to let their behavior change who you are. Stoicism teaches us to stay rooted in our values, to live with kindness and compassion, even when those around us do not. So, when faced with someone who shows no empathy, remember Seneca's words: "True power comes from mastering ourselves, not from controlling others." By focusing on what we can control, our own thoughts and actions, we remain on the path of virtue, unaffected by the coldness of those who lack the ability to care. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Your support and engagement mean everything. Together, we've explored how to recognize the subtle signs of toxic people and how to protect ourselves by staying true to our values. It's been a privilege to share these insights with you, and I hope they've helped you reflect on your own life in a meaningful way. Stoicism teaches us to live with strength, integrity, and compassion, no matter what challenges we face, and I'm grateful to walk this path with you. If you found these lessons valuable, I encourage you to continue applying them in your daily life and share your thoughts with the community. Let's keep growing and learning together. Thank you again, and until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, and continue living with virtue.